What land did the children of Reuben and Gad want? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Numbers on Walking Through the Bible. If you have a Bible with you, turn to Numbers chapter 32. We're going to be reading from verses 1 to 9. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Numbers 32, beginning at verse 1. Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of livestock. And when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that indeed the region was a place for livestock, the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spoke to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, and to the leaders of the congregation, saying, Ataroth, Dibon, Jazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, Eliah, Shebam, Nebo, and beyond, the country which the Lord defeated before the congregation of Israel, is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. Therefore they said, If we have found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants as a possession. Do not take us over the Jordan. And Moses said to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, Shall your brethren go to war while you sit here? Now why will you discourage the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord has given them? Thus your fathers did when I sent them away from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. For when they went up to the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel, so that they did not go into the land which the Lord had given them. Even though Israel will not cross over the Jordan to attack Jericho until the book of Joshua, let's not forget that the history given to us here in Numbers is very close to that event. The reason that we may not realize that is the fact that because the book of Deuteronomy comes in between Numbers and Joshua, and Bible students know that the book of Joshua is the book where the conquest takes place, we can forget that. Add to that the book of Numbers is often not studied too closely, and we can certainly miss details like this. Recall from earlier in the book that Israel is situated in what used to be the Amorite territory, with Israel having defeated the Amorites in chapter 21. They also controlled land further north on the east side of the Jordan River towards what would be known as the Sea of Galilee. This land, which would include the land of Gilead, was situated between the Arnon River in the south and the Jabbok River in the north. We haven't seen this area described in quite a while, but we have seen it before, for this is very near the place where Jacob came when returning to Canaan. In Genesis 32, he wrestled with God near the Jabbok River, and for a time Jacob settled in Succoth, which would be near the land we're talking about in this lesson. Listen to how the land is described in Genesis 33:17. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth, built himself a house, and made booths for his livestock. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. This land was very good for raising livestock, which is why it caught the eyes of the tribes of Reuben and Gad. According to verse 1 of Numbers 32, the tribes of Reuben and Gad had accumulated a lot of livestock. Some of this would have been gained from the war with Midian that we talked about in the last chapter, but the vast majority would have been gained during their 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. Remember, Israel left Egypt with livestock, and their flocks obviously grew during the period of wilderness wandering, for how else could they have enough livestock to offer all those sacrifices to God? So seeing that the land of Gilead was so appealing for raising livestock, the children of Reuben and Gad came to Moses and Eleazar the high priest to inquire as to the possibility of inheriting this land for themselves instead of inheriting land across the Jordan River in the land of Canaan. Now, up until now, it has been generally understood that God had promised the land west of the Jordan River to Israel. This is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had settled during their lifetimes. In fact, 40 years earlier, the land we're talking about here was not part of the land that the spies were sent to. Now it is alluded to in Genesis 15:18-21 that God would give Abraham's descendants land from the river Egypt to the river Euphrates, and it would include the land of the Amorites. But whether that would be their original inheritance or something that they would possess later is not specifically said there in Genesis. By Moses' reaction to Reuben and Gad's request, it does not appear that Moses thought that was God's plan for Israel at that time. What Moses thought that Reuben and Gad were trying to do is to take already conquered land in order to avoid having to cross over the Jordan to fight alongside their brethren in Canaan. If this was Reuben and Gad's intention, then Moses told them that might demoralize the children of Israel from crossing over the Jordan to conquer Canaan. Why might Moses think this? Because it had happened before. Back 40 years earlier, Israel sent spies into the land of Canaan, and 10 of them brought back a bad report of the land, which discouraged Israel from taking the promised land. Because of this rebellion, Israel was not allowed to enter the land, forced to wander in the wilderness while the rebellious generation died out. Now those of Reuben and Gad who were making this request were young at that time, and some may not have even been born, so they might not have had a full understanding of what had happened in the past, which is why it was good for Moses to remind them. We'll continue with this story, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Numbers 32, verses 10 to 19, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.